Hello all, Tracy here from Temperance Tarot, and I did have a request to go through the Wanderer's Tarot, so this will be my walkthrough / discussion about the Wanderer's Tarot. I have been using it this week. This is the second edition, from what I understand. It comes in this clamshell box. It has a little pamphlet sort of thing with it. And let's have a look at this first. It's basically just a folded piece of paper. There's very little information here, which is good sometimes, and sometimes I wish there was more. It can sometimes be freeing to not have a whole bunch of stuff written about the cards, but these are just so unique that I kind of wish there was a little bit more written about them. But she does call this a practice of personal reflection. And there are 4 suits: moons, stones, feathers, and knives. Moons are basically like cups, stones are pentacles, feathers are wands, and knives are swords. Then she has a little bit here about numerology, very little bit. And then the court cards follow a different bent as well. There's Philosopher, Goddess, Prophet, and Wanderer. And they don't really correspond to Page, Knight, Queen, and King. They're kind of their own thing. And then there is a little description about the major arcana and Casey Zabala, that created it. Then if you unfold it, you also get, the swords are air, they're to know, thought, intellect, and mind. The earth is to be silent, and it's physical grounding, pentacles. To dare is water, compassion, emotion, love, summer. And to will is fire, desire, spirit, wands, action, passion, creation. So that is the extent of the information that you get. And I was able to fold it up the last time I unfolded it. There we go. And here's the cards. The box is very nice. It's a very nice box. It doesn't have a magnetic closure, but it's a very nice box. I'm thinking about adding a ribbon to it, but I just don't think it's necessary. And now we'll walk through all the cards. This is the black edition. There is also a white edition that has white backgrounds and black drawing, but this is black backgrounds and white drawing. And the edges, I didn't black them. This is the way it came. Last time I checked on the website for the Wanderer's Tarot, she was out of the black but still had some of the white. I got the black one from a shop in Atlanta called Modern Mystic. I haven't checked recently, but I would expect that they would still have a few if you're looking for this deck. The major arcana are fairly Rider-Waite-Smith. The images aren't so much Rider-Waite-Smith, but the little descriptions in the book are Rider-Waite-Smith, and I pretty much get the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings from them. So let's go through them. Fool, the Magician. The cardstock is very matte, and sometimes the cards don't separate the way they do with a slicker deck. I know that if I put some fanning powder on these cards, that would absolutely help, but fanning powder's white, and I just don't want to do that. Here's the Empress, and we have like a calf head on a woman's body. She's laying on like an Afghan. She has some sheaves of wheat, those Italian cypress trees, and a heart over her head. And then the Emperor, we have a box. And there's some esoteric symbolism here that I'm not big with the esoteric, so I'm not quite sure what they mean. We've got looks like a ram's skull and some mountains, and there are axes here. It's kind of hard to see, but there are a couple of axes cleaved into the side of the mountain. I find the Hierophant very interesting because the Hierophant so frequently is seen as dogmatic and what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody who's holding his secrets close to his chest. And this Hierophant is definitely not. This Hierophant is pulling back the veil or pulling back the curtain so that you can see the divinity behind it. So I kind of like that. The Lovers. The Chariot. I'm not quite sure what that says to me. Strength is fairly traditional. The Hermit is interesting. Instead of having a face, he has a candle. And there are candles in a lot of these cards, in the minors in particular. And it's as though his inner light is shining out through his hand. Wheel of Fortune. I can recognize the zodiac signs. Justice, you know, you're on the blade of a knife and weighing it. If you put a candle under something, the heat's gonna push that up. So is it weighing this way because of the item or object in this side of the scale, or is it weighing this way because the light of the candle is lifting up the other end? Or the heat from the candle. There's a Hanged Man. He's pretty traditional. I love the Death card because he looks like he is having a jolly good time doing his job. And, you know, there was a show, I think it was on HBO or Showtime. I don't remember, because I watched it on some other way. I watched it on Netflix. I think back when Netflix did DVDs, or when I got DVDs from Netflix, it was called Dead Like Me, where this girl died and she became a reaper, and it was their job to go out and collect souls of people just as they were dying. And it was so fun and funny, and that's what this card makes me think of, is Dead Like Me. And here's Temperance, and I've spoken about this one before. I really love this card. You know, you've got the rainbow, you've got the sun, you've got the two cups. You've got water pouring down into the cups and sort of creating a flame. And then if you look at the picture as a whole, you sort of have a face. And I really love that Temperance card. The Devil. The Tower. This tower is perched on such a fine little point here. It was bound to come down. The Star. The Moon. When I look at it first glance, I don't see, what I see is actually a bird bath. You know, this is the bottom of the bird bath and this is the top of the bird bath, but I don't think that's what it is. It looks like this is actually a path to this. It looks like an above ground pool. That's what it seems like to me. Still, it's very traditional. You have a little crustacean of some sort here, and a couple of dogs, or a dog and a wolf. Then the sun. The sun's being held up by hands. I kind of like that. Judgment. Judgment is really cool. You have an eye and it's crying, and the tears are watering the plants that are growing below, and you can see there's a little trowel here, so somebody is actually tending the plants. And then the World. And we do have witchy hats in this deck occasionally. There are only women, as far as I know, there are only women in this deck, and none of them have on any clothes, but they're all drawn like this. All right, let's move on to the minors. We'll start with the feathers, and the feathers correspond with wands. So there's some fire in here. So like here you have a candle and a nest of feathers and an egg, and it's cracking and all that potential. But then some of them are very pippish. I mean, that's the two of feathers. It's two feathers. They're facing opposite ways. They look like peacock feathers, probably, because of this thing in the center. The three, see, they're sticking together. The three of feathers, they're rather confined, and there's this string. I haven't quite figured that one out. Four of feathers, we've got a candle again, lifting up three of the four feathers. The five of feathers, and we have, you know, just a feather on each fingertip. The six of feathers, there's a witchy hat again, and six feathers hanging over it. And you see the way she does the numbers on the minors? It's tick marks. So that's 5 and 1, which makes 6. 7 of feathers. It's like the feathers are on fire, and one of them is being wafted up out of the fire, perhaps. 8 of feathers, constant circular motion. The 9 of feathers, you know, we've got the witchy hat again, and all the feathers are attached to the witchy hat, and most of them are facing up, but 2 of them are facing down. And then the 10 of feathers, where you've got so many feathers that it's weighing down whatever they're attached to. But they're not attached to a bird. Let's look at the courts now. They seem to make a progression for me, because we have the Philosopher, the Goddess, the Prophet, and the Wanderer. And let me have a little read to you about each of these. She has a little bit about the suits. So in feathers, it's the suit of desire and passion, representative of spirit flight associated with the fire element. And then we have the Philosopher, who's a student and teacher, forever gaining knowledge and dismantling ideas, romantic and serious. So you can see we have somebody here who's got feathers for arms, who's very tentatively stepping off of a rock that's in the water, maybe onto the land. Then the Goddess is strong, nurturing figure with true emanating power, the embodiment of their suit, a fully blossomed flower. So you have a very confident woman standing with her wing arms or her feathered arms. You know, she's got many feathers on her arms, and doing a ballet pose. Then we have the Prophet, who is the seeker and seer, one with knowledge to inform their future through will and action. So this person, she's laying on a bed of feathers. She's got regular arms now. She's holding a feather. She's got some fire here and a headdress. She is what these two people together come to make. So you go through this journey, then to this journey, then you've made it here until you finally make it to the Wanderer of feathers. And I don't think any of the Wanderers have heads, which I don't quite understand. But the Wanderer is a buoyant, excited traveler, ready to take on the gifts of the cosmos, ready to risk all. So it's like the Wanderer has learned everything that the Philosophers learned, taken all the power of the Goddess and the knowledge of the Prophet, and they're actually taking it out into the world and disseminating it or sharing it or maybe just experiencing it or taking it with them. Okay, now let's go through the rest fairly quickly. We start with the moons, which are the cups. So we have the Ace of Moons, the Two of Moons. So we've got water, and the water is on the inside and the moon is on the outside. The Three of Moons, which are 3 crescent moons. One has a face, and there's this little heart in the center. The Four of Moons, where you've got a full moon, a new moon, and then 2 half moons, but the half moons are dark moons. And 4 hands. 5 of Moons, it looks like it's about to topple over. It looks like it's out of balance to me. Whereas the 6 of Moons is quite balanced. 2 full, 2 half, 2 new. The 7 of Moons, I'm not sure I get at all. I mean, we've got water, and we've got, it looks like an eclipse and a crescent and a half, and I'm just not sure. The 8 of Moons, all new moons, and a fire to get you going. The 9 of Moons, 3 of the moons are underwater, but 6 of the moons are stacked neatly on top. And then the 10 of Moons. The Philosopher, well, none of these people have heads. They've all got moon heads. So the Philosopher of Moons, the Goddess of Moons, the Prophet of Moons, and the Wanderer of Moons, who's taken a journey on the moons. And the knives, the Ace of Knives. You know, looks like the inside of a cabbage to me. Two of Knives. Three of Knives, two knives in the ground, one knife up, and a lot of, you know, pretty flowers and foliage. The Four of Knives. These are like dinner knives. They're not like swords. So you've got the blades facing each other this way and the blades facing each other that way. 5. Very pippish here. 6. 7, we have the cabbage again. 8, that was my refrigerator. 9, you know, we've got knives, just kind of all the kinds of different knives all over the place, and what look like some acorns and some flowers and plants and things. And then the 10, also the 10, you've got each one is a set of 2 that are crossed, and then flowers all around the edge. So you can see this is not Rider-Waite-Smith. This is definitely numerology, because her numerology association's just endings, completion. And 9 was chaos before perfection. So yeah, you can see that. This is a little chaotic. It's a little all over the place. And this is things have fallen into place. So if we look at it progressively, these two make sense together. Absolutely. This is the chaos, and then this would be the perfection. All right. Now the Philosopher of Knives has knife legs and knife arms. The Goddess, just knife legs, but only one eye. And the Prophet, knife legs, knife arms, one eye. And the Wanderer, no head, just an eye. And instead of, at the ends of the knives, there are hearts. I thought they might be spades, but they're not. You can tell because these are hearts. And then 4 Pentacles, we have stones. And she draws 2 different kinds of stones. So we've got here something that, you know, looks like a pentagram, if you do it that way. But she draws stones that look like crystals and stones that look like rocks. And sometimes I had a little bit of trouble telling the difference between a card with a cluster of rocks on it and a card with a cluster of moons on it, because I don't know the deck very well yet. So there's our 2. Here's the 3. And the 4. A lot of underneath. There's a lot of rocks there. This is the 5. This one looks like, you know, you've got 4 pebbles and a crystal, and they've washed up on a beach, and somebody's walked by them and maybe not seen the value in what they are. I think that's one of the best cards in the deck. 6, and these look like geodes, like split open geodes and a couple of crystals, but you've got a nice balance there. 7, you know, these are kind of rocky and could be moonish, but these are definitely crystals. There's the 8. Looks very stable. It's got 2 lemniscates in it. But then here's the 9. And those all just look like, you know, clumps of rock. And then the arrows, I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to mean. And then the 10, you got a whole bunch of rocks all piled up on each other. The Philosopher, a Goddess, and boy is she a goddess. Look at all those people down there. Oh, those aren't people, those are candles. Huh? Okay. I saw people worshiping her. The Prophet and the Wanderer. So there you go. That is the Wanderer's Tarot and my impressions of it. It's a large deck. It's, you know, I've got big hands. It shuffles pretty well this way, but because it's so matte, the cards do tend to clump together. I think it just needs a little breaking in. It has a little bit of a bend to it. You can tell that's the way it came. I have big enough hands to where I can just barely riffle shuffle it if I want to, which does help distribute the cards better. But there's something just very special about the way these cards feel when they're in my hand. I don't know. I'm going to have to work with this one for quite a bit longer. Maybe put it away for a while and come back to it before I really get it. But when I touch it, it feels very special. And I can't figure another way to explain that, but it just feels very special. So there you go. There are the backs. Thank you so much for watching, and have a very lovely day.